everybody, I am the author Stephanie E. Jensen, and welcome to Godless. This is my book, Dissecting House. Keep in mind, I released this as a second edition. This is the first edition, but has the same color, same title. Overall, it's the same book. I'm born and raised in Seminole, Florida. I go back between Seminole and Montreal, Quebec, where my boyfriend lives. I went to school at the University of South Florida and graduated with a bachelor's degree in English writing. What am I known for as an author? Well, I just know my readers get pretty terrified with my books, which I guess is a good compliment as a horror writer. I've been, especially this book, I've been told it is sadistic, very ideal for serial killers. Another one of my colleagues also said that my books are very gory, graphic, blah blah blah, so if you like that, then definitely check out Dissecting House and my other books, which will be out very soon. Top 5 horror books. Oh man, this is not an easy answer. So I think rather than list a specific book, it might just be easier if I list either author names and like general series of books. Number 1 is probably my biggest inspiration as a writer, and that is Laurel K. Hamilton. The reason I said like it might be easier if I just say specific series, because any Laurel K. Hamilton fans know that she has 2 very famous series. By far the most famous one is the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter Trilogy, which I'm sure has like 50 books in the series at this point, and it's almost impossible for me to choose one book from that series. So pretty much all works from Laurel K. Hamilton, number 1. Number 2, another one of my biggest series influences, surprisingly, that is actually Goosebumps. If it wasn't for the Goosebumps books, or me discovering them when I was a kid, I probably wouldn't be a horror fan. Number 3, most definitely Lovecraft. Lovecraft obviously has way too many stories for me to even sum up a few of them. Number 4, I would actually say, is a book I just recently finished. It is Blood Feast by Simon Clarke. What I like about Blood Feast is, like, at first it starts off as like a stereotypical apocalypse story, but it evolves into so much more, and it is definitely a more, I don't want to say philosophical, but it kind of, like the reason for the apocalypse in the story borders on philosophy. So very, very unique and interesting horror book. Some very gory, violent parts. If you like survival, if you're a fan of especially like The Walking Dead, where you like the more like characters kind of interacting with each other, then I would definitely recommend Blood Feast by Simon Clarke. And number 5 would be Master of Disguise by Graham Masterton, I think that's his name. Phenomenal book. Right now I am actually reading Lucifer by a writer colleague of mine named Russell Holbrook. The book is about a cat who comes back from the dead and kills everybody, and it is just a whole bundle of fun. I definitely recommend checking out that book. Russell Holbrook has several other books that I highly recommend you check out as well, so definitely support indie authors. Now it's time for me to talk about my work. This is Dissecting House. This is the only book that I have out right now. If you are into serial killers, then you would like this book, because it follows a serial killer. Her name is Mina Bassi. She specifically targets men. What gave me the inspiration to write this book is that, I mean, obviously there are women killers, you know, throughout horror movies, whether that's, you know, some good examples like Teeth, I Spit on Your Grave, blah, 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 but I can't really find, I know like Dissecting House isn't the first one, but I can't really find many stories and books that actually have like a female killer who is bloodthirsty and she wants to kill just for the sake of killing. So that gave me the idea for Dissecting House, and also all of the propaganda, like don't walk to your car alone at night, or you're gonna get raped and murdered, or all this other propaganda that's spread to women, and that is extremely toxic and sexist. So I made men the victim.
The victims, I mean men the victims in this book.
Well, the next part is for me to talk about my influences. I pretty much mentioned that with my books, and also my influences keep growing. Like I said, Laurel K. Hamilton, R.L. Stine. The only one I haven't mentioned is Edgar Allan Poe. I mentioned Lovecraft. My latest project, well, I technically have the first draft of my next book, The Howling of the Dead. That is more of a paranormal book. It's still, you know, gross and gory and all that fun stuff. That one's based a lot in my, well, one, a experience that I've had before, and just my general interest in the paranormal and conspiracy theories as well. So that is in the editing process, and I'm hoping it will be out by the summer. I'm thinking late summer, like August-ish, but we'll see. The other one is actually the sequel to Dissecting House. It is called Screaming Streets. The first draft is technically finished, but I'm going back and I'm editing some, like, I wasn't very happy with the first half of the book, so I'm not rewriting it, but I'm editing, like, intensively editing a lot of the first half of that book. That one I'm hoping will be released sometime early next year. So next topic is bands and music. Anybody who knows me knows I am an extreme metal fan. My favorite band of all time is Death. I just remember the first time I heard the Human album, I had never heard anything like them before, and I just became obsessed. Number 2 is actually not a metal band, it is Led Zeppelin, because come on, Led Zeppelin has to be in your top 5. I don't need to explain anything else. And then my top 5 typically always changes once we get down to this point. Number 3, I guess if I were to say a band, it would probably be Deicide, because Deicide is another one of the earlier death metal bands that I discovered. It was actually the Scars of the Crucifix album, but my favorite Deicide album is actually their first one. They're self-titled. Number 4, Jesus, I'm not good at these top 5 bands book things, as if you couldn't tell. Yeah, because I know Necrophagist has to be in there somewhere, but I'm not sure if I want to put them number 4 or number 5. I'm just gonna do a top 4, and then Necrophagist will be 4. So I guess I have to also say 2 honorable mention books. First honorable mention will probably be Clive Barker's Books of Blood. Yeah, once again, if you're a horror book fanatic, then anything Clive Barker will probably be on your list. So my second honorable mention, honestly, would probably be Edgar Allan. Actually, no, I take that back. Second honorable mention is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Again, if it wasn't for Goosebumps and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, I would not be a horror fan. Something about myself you may not know is my middle name is spelled incorrectly. I gave both of my parents hell about that, and they both blame my middle name misspelling on the other person. So, walking around my whole life, my middle name is Alicia, and it's not spelled that way. That's why my initials are Stephanie E. Jensen. Top 5 horror movies. Okay, well, I'm just gonna say, this isn't a horror movie, but I'm gonna say it anyway. My number 1 is Pulp Fiction, because that is my favorite movie. It's not a horror movie. I don't care. It is number 1 on my list. Number 2, I would probably have to say it's Hellraiser, because Clive Barker and because Hellraiser.
Number 3?
I would say anything from Mario Bava, but specifically Bay of Blood. And it is by far one of the most influential influential slasher films, and it does not receive enough credit. Number 4, and I'm probably going to receive a lot of controversy for saying this. It's also technically not a horror film, but I'm going to say it anyway, is Salo. And because the first time I'd ever seen that movie, I was just so disturbed, like nothing else has ever affected me, not even a Serbian film. Like nothing else has even affected me as much as Salo has. Number 5, a part of me wants to say Suspiria. I'll just say Suspiria. Still, like, beautifully, well, I love all Argento films. As you can tell, I have an obsession with Italian horror films. And I think I have an honorable mention, a horror film this time. I want to say either Halloween, The Exorcist, or Nightmare on Elm Street. What should be... Do I have a second honorable mention? I do not. Okay, so 1. I will just say Halloween. Halloween was also a very, very big inspiration of Dissecting House. I love the Michael Myers trilogy, except the third one. Third one sucks. Yeah, but I love pretty much just about all of the films, except the third one, Halloween. I am Stephanie Jensen. Thank you for watching. Please check out Dissecting House, my other books that will be out hopefully soon. Check out the other authors on Godless. Big thank you to Drew for the opportunity, and support indie authors, support indie artists, indie musicians, whatever. And thank you so much again for watching this, and see you around.
Except the third one sucks. Except the third one sucks.